Today we're going to discuss about World Down Syndrome Day. I'm Dr. Suresh Badhanmat, Professor of Psychiatry, working at National Institute of Mental Health and Neurosciences, Bangalore. In this video, I'll be discussing about World Down Syndrome Day, which is observed every year on 21st March. United Nations in 2012 committed to observe Down Syndrome Day. The main reason is to raise global awareness regarding Down syndrome. By raising awareness among policymakers, leaders, and also the lawmakers. By raising awareness and also for the public at large, so that the life of the person with Down syndrome can be made easy. Approximately 1 of 800 births worldwide, the person with Down syndrome is born. The word Down syndrome came by the person who explained it for the first time. In 1866, a doctor named John Langdon Down explained the characteristics of Down syndrome. The Down syndrome is a condition in which a person has an extra chromosome, that is trisomy 21. General population at large have 23 pairs of chromosome, that is 46 in total. People with Down syndrome have an extra chromosome added onto the 21st pair. Hence, they have 47 in total. Down syndrome, why it occurs, nobody knows. But invariably it is considered as natural in nature, and exact cause is not known till date. This picture clearly depicts 23 pairs of chromosome. You can see here, there are only 2 chromosomes on 21. Here, an extra chromosome is added, that is trisomy 21. This is where the Down syndrome occurs. As I mentioned, 21st March is observed as a World Down Syndrome Day. The date being 21st is the 21st chromosome, and the March being the 3rd month, that is trisomy. Hence, on March 21st, the day is observed as a World Down Syndrome Day. This year theme is improving our support systems, especially for World Down Syndrome Day 2025. In this regard, every person who is working in the area of mental health, neurological disorders, pediatrics, and human rights activists need to support the cause. This year theme being is improving our support system. This highlights the urgent need to improve the support system for person with Down syndrome. That is with regard to healthcare, education, governance, access to technology, transportation, protection, and social support for the individuals with Down syndrome and also to their family members. Invariably, in India, they do not come directly under the RPWD Act, that is Right to Persons with Disability Act. However, majority of the Down syndrome may have various other physical comorbidities or physical anomalies or maybe even intellectual disability. Hence, indirectly, they come under Disability Act. Further, we need to understand that 1 in 800 babies will be born in India have Down syndrome. That is 1 out of every 800 birth. That means we have approximately 15 to 20 lakh person with Down syndrome in India. That means 15 to 20 lakh families are providing support to the person with Down syndrome. Parenting a special need child isn't for the faint heart. It requires a mighty heart that is capable of containing all the love and the strength that comes with this special role of providing care to the special child. This is a quote by a parent. Now let's understand person with Down syndrome. What does it mean? Invariably, they have a flat face, flat nasal bridge, upslanted palpable fissures, nuchal folds will be very clear. Hypotonia is there in majority of the kids born with Down syndrome. Single palmar crease, widely separated first and second toes, flat face, large tongue, short neck, a crease on the underside of the hand, ears with abnormal shape, growth failure, mental retardation, flat back of the head, abnormal ears, many loops of the finger tips, palm crease single, special skin ridge pattern, unilateral or bilateral absence of one rib, intestinal blockage, umbilical hernia, abnormal pelvis, diminished muscle tone, that is hypotonia, slanting eyes, epicanthic fold, small arched palate, dental anomalies, congenital heart disease, enlarged colon, big toes widely subspaced from the other toes. There is a considerable phenotypic variation among Down syndrome patients. Intellectual disability is most common, ranging from moderate to severe. Although social functioning is well preserved when compared to cognitive impairment. That means Down syndrome behave very well in social situation. Invariably, the intellectual disability is the one which causes problem to the families in managing them. They also have increased risk of Alzheimer's disease in adult Down syndrome. This can be explained by the presence of a gene on chromosome 21 that leads to excessive production of beta amyloid protein and plaques, characteristics of Alzheimer's disease. Let's discuss about the genetics of Down syndrome. Here you can see the trisomy 21. There are 3 chromosomes of the 21. The majority of them are because of non-disjunction. That means it does not separate. So we have an extra chromosome, that is 95% of them. Translocation, it is only 4%. That means part of the chromosome of the 21 breaks and gets attached here. Hence, it is only 4%. Mosaicism is only 1%. 4 of the 6 human interferon receptors genes are located in the chromosome 21. So any alteration or variation or extra chromosome 21 manifests here. Because people with Down syndrome have 3 copies of chromosome 21, they also have 3 copies of interferon receptor genes on it. This contributes to the overproduction of interferon receptors. This is seen in Down syndrome. Not only that, 200 to 300 genes on chromosome 21 as well as epigenetic factors have been identified as a contributor for varying clinical factors or features of syndrome. Multiple genes both on chromosome 21 and at the other sites of the genome, such as polymorphism of the Down syndrome cell adhesion molecule and of the amyloid precursor protein gene, contributes to the variation of clinical manifestation in Down syndrome across the population. Let's understand about prenatal diagnosis, how it is diagnosed. In prenatal, there are 2 important methodology has been adopted: Coranic-Willis sampling and amniocentesis. Both the procedure carries 1% of spontaneous miscarriage. Hence, we need to weigh the risk of doing this versus not doing. Amniocentesis is usually performed between 15 to 20 weeks of gestation, that is in the second trimester, whereas Coranic-Willis sampling is done in the first trimester, that is 9 to 14 weeks. Before you do this kind of test, the information should be provided to the parents with empathy, in a private setting, in presence of family members and friends, so that there is a support. Parents appreciate being congratulated of having their baby, or means the pregnancy. We need to discuss about Down syndrome. What does it mean? What are the chances of having the Down syndrome baby? What are the medical conditions? What are the potential futures of the affected fetus or the infant to be discussed with the parents. Introducing the special baby after the birth is also very essential, and you need to be very sensitive. We need to remove the guilt of having a special child. Many a time, mother will have a guilt that she is responsible for giving birth to a Down syndrome. We need to discuss that it is natural in nature, and there are thousands of reasons, maybe the cause of Down syndrome. A blame game between the parents may start, marital discord may happen. Hence, we need to make sure the blame game does not occur here. Family counseling and support system should be introduced so that the child with the Down syndrome is also protected. A parent of a person with the Down syndrome said, "I don't think the worst thing that could happen to me is raising a child with special needs. I think the worst thing is to raise a child who is cruel to those with the special needs." This is an amazing quote told by a parent of a person with Down syndrome. Let's discuss about Down syndrome and medical termination of pregnancy 1971, and it was amended in 2021. This was the case law which reached Supreme Court. In February 2017, a mother, a resident of Alibag, Maharashtra, belonged to a lower middle class family, already had a child with disability. And now she is again pregnant, and during antenatal checkup, they found that the fetus was diagnosed to have trisomy 21. And this was detected at 22 weeks. And again, this is in 2017. Since the couple already had a disabled child, they were going through a hardship. Hence, they approached various doctors for medical termination of pregnancy. In 2017, the Medical Termination of Pregnancy 1971 Act was in place. Hence, none of the doctors agreed for termination. Hence, they approached the High Court, later to the Supreme Court. Finally, the Supreme Court asked the report from the doctors. The doctor reported there is no harm to the health of the mother. The fetus has the possibility of being born with trisomy 21, that is Down syndrome, may have mild mental abnormality or physical abnormalities, but there is high chances of survival. Hence, the abortion is not warranted. This was the doctor report. The apex court refused to permit medical termination of pregnancy in trisomy 21, that is Down syndrome. This is not only in India. In few of the European countries, many parents had approached when they found their baby is, the child which is going to be born has Down syndrome. In many places, they had given permission for MTP. But now, many countries do not allow MTP for the reason of Down syndrome. The simple reason is Down syndrome is a genetic variation, and they are like human beings like you and me. Now let's understand the medical comorbidity which occurs with Down syndrome. One of an important article published in New England Journal of Medicine in 2020, the title of the article is Down syndrome, written by the author Merlin Bull. This talked about immediately the child is born, karyotyping to confirm the diagnosis of Down syndrome, complete blood count with a differential count, blood thyroid test, echocardiogram, identification of any gastrointestinal anomalies to be done immediately. So, this has to be done so that we can find any comorbidity occurs and immediate attention to be given to the child. What are the other comorbidities known? The most common comorbidity which is well known is congenital heart disease. That is, atrioventricular defect is 45%, ventricular septal defect is 35%, and if you look at the infection, it is 35 to 40%. Hearing deficit, 84%. That means that requires attention. Further, if you look at the blood disorders or hematological disorders, transient abnormal myelopyosis is less than 10%, but it is worth noting that leukemia and tumors, anemia is a well-known in Down syndrome, sleep disorder is 65%, further hypothyroidism is 50%, dysphagia 55%, seizures 5 to 8%, partial seizures 2 to 3%, dementia. As the age progresses, the incidence increases. Below the age of 40, the incidence is less than 5. By the age of 65, the incidence of dementia increases up to 70 to 80%. Autism is 17 to 16%. Visual problem is 57%, my dear friends. What about the Indian research? Recently, there was a publication in Journal of Pediatric Genetics. The title of the study is Clinical Profile of Indian Children with Down Syndrome. This was published by Panigrahi and his colleagues in 2021. Let's look into the clinical profile here again. If you look at the hypotonia, is again 66%, constipation 16%, and also microcephaly 35%, and hypothyroidism 30%, which is almost similar to international studies. Again, failure to thrive 54%, stunting 23%, global developmental delay 31%, cardiac abnormality 61%. Further, pneumonia is 17%. That means medical comorbidity is very common in Down syndrome. Hence, early recognition and treatment of such condition may minimize the complication in persons with Down syndrome, and across the lifespan, we can give a good quality of life. The most common cause of death in childhood and adulthood is respiratory infection, that is pneumonia. The main reason being is immunodeficiencies, which occurs because of trisomy 21, and as I mentioned earlier, invariably that has an important manifestation of immune deficiency here. Congenital heart disease defect can also cause death in early childhood. And again, raising a child with special needs does not take a special family. It makes a family special, my dear friends. This is the support we need to give so that we can make that family special. Hence, we need to be inclusive of person with Down syndrome in our society. So what should we do? Involvement of a person with Down syndrome in community life makes them inclusive in our community. Down syndrome survive longer and they can be contributory to the society. They can achieve independence, stay on their own. But everyone requires support, hence the Down syndrome person also requires support. Education, that means we need to be inclusive of person with Down syndrome in the normal stream of education. We should not remove them from the normal schooling and tell that this child should not belong to the mainstream education. That should not happen in any welfare society. Further, being in a normal school will improve their social norms. They will understand the social relationship. They will have friends, and they feel to be part of the system rather than segregating them and discriminating them. Teaching should be focused on their strengths rather than their weakness. An emphasis should be made on their transition which occurs in every part of their life, and we need to support them, such as education, adolescence, employment, marriage, parenthood, source of healthcare, and community involvement. Further, they need to be represented if there are any legal issues, guardianship, financial support, social support system, and also pension should be given to them if they are unable to be employed because of their intellectual disability. These kinds of support system will make our society a welfare society and also support the families who are providing care for the persons with Down syndrome. This is again a quote given by a parent with special needs. I am a special needs parent. I have a very special needs. I need you to be there for me. I need you to not pity on my child. I need you to teach your children acceptance. I need you to listen to me when I need to talk. I need you not to judge me or my child. I need you to understand why I don't always call you. I need you to be my friend. I am a special needs parent. I have a special needs too. This is an amazing quote written by a parent who is providing care to the child with special needs. So, my dear friends, this year theme on World Down Syndrome Day is improving our support systems. So, we being the responsible citizens, we need to improve the support system for a person with Down syndrome across the globe. Thank you very much for giving your valuable time. Stay safe.